Today on the Transformation Project, we are so excited to be speaking to Ash Fanning. Ash has been a planner forever. She's all about systems, functionality, and practicality. So I guess it was just a matter of time before Ash created her own planner because she couldn't find one that suited everything that she wanted it to do. Her business, Travel into Living, helps multi-passionate people with many focuses to get organized efficiently, something that I really, really need some help on. Let's get to it.
Hello and welcome to the Transformation Project, a podcast and community for women who are looking to transform into the best version of themselves no matter where they are at. A place where you can listen, learn, and laugh along with us as we dive deep into different topics to help you live a happier, healthier, and more fulfilled life. Remember, we are all learning here together, and therefore the content and opinions of the hosts and our guests should not be taken as medical advice. Please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions.
I would love to today introduce this amazing woman, Ash. She and I met a few years ago through work. We work in the same, industry. But I know Ash has been on a bit of a journey over the years. She's only a young kind of duckling, but she's been on a journey already. And as part of that journey, she's created a really cool product that supports people to create order from chaos. And I know for the three of us here, Yvette, Jess, and myself, we all kind of lead different lives, but there is definitely elements of chaos in that can be supported by what you do, Ash. And I feel like many of our listeners are kind of in the same space. So Ash, welcome, and thank you so much for coming to have a chat with us today. Would you like to start, I guess, by just sharing a little bit of your story so people can get to know you?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for the lovely welcome. And hasn't it been a wild ride since we met at work?
Yeah.
COVID and everything that it came along with that. Okay, so my story, I guess, really starts back in high school. I think it goes all the way back there when I had my first sort of school diary. And since then, I have always been someone to use a planner. I remember in high school having like all the subjects written down and highlighting everything and making sure everything was in order. I played touch, I did athletics, I did cross country. I was obviously at school, I was working. I think by the year 12, I had 2 part-time jobs, so I was doing all the things. And so I have always had a diary, and I would organize my friends to do stuff like going to Origin with 15 of us. I would organize things for the weekend. I would be the person collecting money, and that has just sort of stuck with me for my whole life. So I guess I've always just been the organizer and have always had a planner. And that became especially evident when I got older and started traveling. I found that I was always the one researching trips and finding out the places to go, whereas other people would take care of the money and all the other things, so I could just sort of be in charge of the itinerary or research the really great places. So I was living in Canada a couple of years ago, and over there their schooling starts in September, and so a lot of their planners and diaries and everything start mid-year. So I had a mid-year diary. So when I came back to Australia, it finished in the middle of the year. And we don't really do that here. We don't have half-year diaries. So I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like I could feel my head, getting fuzzy. I could feel my brain getting overwhelmed. I had to do something about it. And there wasn't anything on the market. So I quickly jumped into Canva and whipped up my own very, very, very dodgy version. At this stage, I was working as a teacher and I was doing supply work. So I was sort of going to different schools every day. So I needed to keep track of that. And I was also running a skincare business. And so that had to fit in as well. So yes, I made my really dodgy version, which was plastic and coil bound and gross, but it got me through the end of the year. then I was doing some coaching at the time, like I was getting coached, and I kind of thought, well, you know what if I just make one for next year and make a prototype, and maybe I could actually turn this into a business, because I could never find anything that I really, really liked that suited me. Everything had too many headings that were prescribed. They had too many inserts in the back that I didn't use, like, meal prepping and I don't even know, note sections, dietary stuff, addresses, birthdays, all those things. And so I made my own. I took the leap. I made a better version in Canva. I structured it exactly how I wanted it, with priority sections, heaps of space for notes, a really clear vision during the day. And that's sort of where the journey started. I Googled a heap and found a printer and binder here in Brisbane and made my first little prototype, which was, like an amazing experience. I learned a hell of a lot doing that first little bit, and I carried it with me throughout 2000 or would have been the end of 19 to end of 20, or all of 20. And people that saw it were like, okay, that's pretty good. That's really functional. It has heaps of space. You can add your own stuff in it and make it customized to yourself, because it doesn't have headings. And they said I should put it on the market. So I did.
Really like, Ash, how you've identified really early on, you've identified one of your strengths, and that is creating order, and then found a way creatively to actually, one, add value to other people's lives, to support them with their scheduling and planning, but two, to align with your values, but to support other people to get things back on track. So that's kind of cool, because I know lots of us, lots of our women and men who listen to this podcast are pretty entrepreneurial as well, and always looking for ways that they can tie back in and use their strengths. And particularly at the moment, right? I'm going off on a tangent here, but this feels right. Is that at the moment, there are people who are so uncertain with what's going on in their lives, with their jobs, we can go crazy here.
Yeah.
And they're looking for ways that they can then not necessarily have to rely so much on their job, and they can come back in and focus on what they do well and potentially create something of value. So that's kind of cool that you did that. That's awesome. Is there some key kind of, I guess, if you were going to coach us, and now, I mean, Jess is a mum of 2 young babies. Yvette is she's everything, really.
Yvette is a professional ball juggler.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, and I'm very excited to speak to you, because Yvette is also generally not an organized person. So I was the kid at school that did not have the diary, or if I did, it was only so that when I was going to get detention, they had somewhere to write it. So that was really all my diary was used for. And I still struggle with a diary. At the moment, everything has to go on my phone, and I've got that synced across everybody's stuff. But I also have ADD. So if I can very easily get distracted, go off on a tangent. And you're right, I've tried 1,000 different diaries, and like I literally have a monthly planner. Here's my monthly planner. She's blank. Right? There's nothing on it. It's on my desk. There's nothing on it. So I just really struggle with staying organized. And at the same time, let's say we have our own business. I run my own business. I'm on the board of 3 different places, have 2 children. Yeah. There's stuff I'm missing. So there's a lot for a disorganized person to stay on top of.
Yeah. And first of all, take that disorganized label away from the moment, because it's not necessarily about disorganization. It's about finding a system that works for you. And while I've created a physical planner, and I love that you said, it's for ball jugglers, because it actually got written down on my paper here. Where is it? Oh, anyway, whatever, I'll find it later. But the planner basically is for those people who have multiple passions in their life. They juggle a million different balls, and they need a place where they can write it all and have it all in one place so that you can see everything and the big picture, and not have sticky notes everywhere and bits of paper everywhere and lists everywhere and your phone and some in your book and some in, you know, hubby or whatever's phone, you know, like that's sort of why I created it. But the thing is, you might not be a planner person. And especially in this day and age, tech has, you know, advanced so much that people don't need a physical pen and paper and a physical planner. So you have to think about what system and works for you. So if you're not a pen and paper person, scrap it. If you need like a little notepad or something to just write stuff down on the fly, sure, like, you know, have that on hand. But take away that pressure of, oh yeah, I need to have that, you know, this planner sitting on my desk that I don't use. You don't need it, like get rid of it. Maybe you need an extra tablet or an extra screen or something on your desk where you can then, you know, flip your cursor across and type whatever into your note system or something there, because it does sync with the rest of what's going on and the systems that you've got when you're, you know, sharing platforms and stuff in your family. So that's the first thing, kind of figure out what your preference is, sit into that and know that everything is okay. Like get rid of the shoulds. You don't have to do anything. Whatever works for you is what works for you. Like no one else can say, oh, you know, your system is, you know, rubbish because you should be using a paper planner. Like it's got nothing to do with them. They're not running your life. However, you're, you know, whatever it works for you in your life is what you need to do. So I think we sort of struggle with that a lot. And especially for those people who do have physical planners, they think it needs to be beautiful and creative and pretty and drawing and all these stickers and headings and everything like that. Or, you know, if you're journaling, you have to journal for an hour every day and pour your heart out and, you know, all these things that are just messages that we get from social media and Instagram and Pinterest where everything's so beautifully curated, when, you know, journaling to you could look like writing some dot points and for, you know, 3 sentences, like, you know, that's it. And you might sort of write in every note language rather than, you know, whimsical sentences. So I think just recognizing what your system is part of the process and then embracing that. That's probably the first step.
I love
That's
that you
so
say
good.
that, because my 11-year-old makes me feel bad.
Yeah.
Because
and right, that's their system, right? Like that's how their brain works.
yeah, she is actually, I laughed at her the other day because I was looking at, even like, she has a diary and everything is beautiful in the diary. But also she has like even her online stuff. She said to me, Mom, look at my online workspace that she has for school. She's like, it looks like a pride parade. And I was like, what? And I went to go and have a look at it. It's like a rainbow.
Yeah.
Like everything is pretty for her. It's really important that it's like aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
For me, even at school, I was like, as long as it gets down and it's written down, like that's all I care about.
Yeah.
But for and my eldest daughter is like that too. As long as it's down, that's all she cares about.
Yeah.
But for Savannah, she's always, in saying that though, she's the person who's most organized in the family. So if I go to the shop and I can't remember what I need, I'll be like, Savvy, what did I say that I needed again? And she will know.
Yeah.
So I feel like she's got some little, like there's some gold in the process that she's using that clearly I'm missing out on.
Yeah, but you know what, like maybe that's the way her brain works too, you know, maybe she has a photographic memory to a certain point, or because she does write it down, maybe that, you know, solidifies that in her brain more, and she has that ability to recall. But again, finding your system is how you make it work for you. Like I couldn't have beautiful colored rainbow pages. I find that far too chaotic and my brain just gets so overwhelmed looking at that straight away. Like my planner is literally like my writing and some highlighting, because I don't cross stuff off because then it gets too messy. I highlight it to have a to-do list rather than a to-do list. And it works for my brain, but then some people need that creative outlet as well. and get stimulated to, you know, be productive and stay on track with, you know, their decorations and their embellishments and stuff that can, yeah, it guides them. I guess it works for them.
Ash, I feel like you and I might have been the same person in high school, like the exact same person, I think. I remember planning a camping trip and like getting an itinerary together of like all our meals and stuff for graduation. And my friends being like, you're so over the top ridiculous. And I'm like, no, we need to make sure we have enough food for everybody and all meals. And like, yeah, anyways, that's me. That's still me. But I'm glad you said, like, try not, like, find your own system and don't stress too much about it, because this is where I'm at. So I've always been a planner person, and that's worked really well for me. And then I started working in hospitality, and I can't carry a planner around with me in a busy restaurant. So then I switched to my phone because I have to write everything down. Like I won't remember. So then that became my phone. But then it was like, there was stuff in my notes, there was stuff in my calendar, there was stuff in a different app that I had downloaded that I thought, like, if the phone doesn't really work for me, but I guess I had to make it work. And now I'm doing my own business, and I'm currently staying at home with a newborn. So I'm kind of in this like very chaotic in between part where like I still have lots of things on my phone because that's the habit I've created over the last couple of years. But I really like pen and paper, so I've kind of gone back to it, but I can't ever find a journal. I'm that person that like stands in Officeworks. I go back to Officeworks like 3 or 4 times in the month of January because I'm like, maybe they'll have new journals, because I don't like any of them. And then I go and like look online, and I'm like, ooh, this $80 journal maybe is okay. And then I'm like, can I justify an $80 journal right now? Like, and then I'm like, I just don't know what I want. So right now I am this chaotic person. I'm all over the place. I have like 4 or 5 journals. I had to message our group yesterday to ask for someone's name because I literally cannot find the journal that I wrote it in. Like, I'm all over the place. So what do you recommend for in-betweeners at the moment?
First of all, hang on, let me write down in-betweeners so then I can come back to that. But first of all, it is definitely the hardest part of the whole thing, trying to find the right physical planner or diary or journal or whatever for you. That is definitely the hardest, because there is so much out there. Honestly, you can find something for everything, but the problem is you might have one thing that you like in one journal and one thing that you like in another journal. So I'm actually going down the path at the moment. I'm just exploring it at the moment where I actually create your own custom planner for you. So like you would sketch your design and I would bring it to life essentially. But it's just in a very, very infant stage at the moment. So
I can be your trial if you need. I'm ready for this. This is exactly what I need.
Yes, perfect. So by the time this comes out, hopefully, you know, check in with me and it might be up and running. But I think a solution for that is to go as simple as possible so that you have control over what you can change. So if there's something that's got lines and kind of structure, use that, because then you can make the space what you want it with headings. But it is very hard to find. So it does just take a lot of time to research and find what's out there. But there's heaps of Facebook groups that have, you know, planner and journal people in them. And you could say, hey, I'm looking for this, 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 and this. What do you recommend? So that's always a really good avenue to go down as well to get people's input. Anyway, so that's why I designed my planner the way it is. It is very backbone and it is very customizable with a lot of space to do your own thing. Yeah, so that's sort of my tip for that. But getting back to the in-betweeners, it is hard, again, because there's so many apps and different softwares out there that it probably just takes a bit of time to sit into what you need from your phone and then what you can do with your time to transfer into your planner. So if you've always got your phone, I would suggest having like just a sticky note on your screen as a widget or whatever. And so you can just maybe not on your home screen, because on your home screen, you normally have your apps that you use frequently and your calendar or, you know, a Google search bar or whatever. So on the next screen over, so it's just one swipe away. I would recommend just having a sticky note that takes up the whole screen. So you can tap it and then you can click right at the top of that sticky note and create whatever notes you need to for the day. Then if you need to put it into a planner so you can see that whole picture rather than just, the date on your phone, then you can open up your sticky note at night or when you have, 5 minutes at lunch or whatever time suits you, and then put it into your planner and put it into your phone calendar from the notes that you've taken through the day. Now, if it's work stuff, maybe you want to have sort of maybe divide that screen into 2 sticky notes or something. So you can have like a yellow one for general stuff and a blue one for work or something like that. Have a bit of a color coding system. But yeah, it just needs to be easy and it needs to be really clear and it needs to be visible so that you remember to go and do your stuff at night. So if you're flicking through your phone, obviously you'll probably go to, flip past that second screen and be like, oh yeah, okay, there's my sticky notes. I need to put stuff in my planner. I need to put stuff in my phone calendar. And then the next day, do it all again.
Yeah, that's really good. Can you do that for an iPhone or does that sounds kind of like an Android thing or no? Should I be able to do that?
Yeah, I guess so. Like if you just look up, I don't know if on iPhone you can look up a little widget or something, even if it's just a notes page or a notes app that you can have as, the whole screen. I'm sure you can. Like even, what's the new iPhone thing that came out and everyone was raving about it, like a dashboard or something? I think that should be able to set it up. Yeah. Because everyone was curating it really beautifully and there was a pastel and pretty and
but I have to play around with that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't do anything to make my phone pretty. It's a practical thing for me.
Exactly. Yeah. 2 little post-its, sticky note things there or, one for the screen. Done.
I love it.
So Ash, I know one of the other things that you're doing is, last time we spoke is you were creating a planner for teachers because you're a teacher yourself. I guess you have an understanding of the kinds of needs of teachers in that planning process because there is so much around school and holidays and, they don't really have holidays, etc. Is that something like from a teacher perspective, like what sort of value do you think that adds to them?
Oh God, I could not function without a teacher planner. Like I'm not teaching full time at the moment, and I'm not on class like on a particular year level. I am a specialist teaching at the moment, and it's part time, so I don't need as much structure. But I couldn't function without having that visual right there, so I knew what to do every day and what was coming up for the week and further into the term. So while we do all our planning and everything online and it's, collaborative within your year level and your team, that then for me, it gets printed off and then I put it into the week by week planner so that, I know when there's a sports carnival, I know when I've got my normal contact time and there's music or PE or, whatever. And I can sequence my learning and the progression of where you need to start your kids and get them to the end. So in terms of value, and it's the same with planners and journals and stuff in general, people don't think about it in terms of why they feel like they need a planner. They say, yeah, sure, to keep myself organized and, so I can see the term and, all those things that I just said. But deeper down from that, it's about not feeling overwhelmed. It's about having a clear brain so you're not fried and panicky and, getting your stuff together each morning that you get to school. It's so that you are calm, you're not snapping at your kids. And by kids, it could be your school kids or even your family at home when you don't know what's going on and you're overwhelmed. So you're really short and frustrated. It's about, getting ready for book week, because it's book week is a huge thing at schools, and it's about having those plans and that preparation time so you're not flustered. It's about peace, and again, when you have your system working for you, those feelings of having that and control, control is a big one. It just makes you happier. It makes you you know, you just get on with life far more, in a content way. You just feel so much more content. And people don't often think about that. And it's funny because I ask it in my market research all the time, and I have to be really, really explicit when I ask it, because people will say, oh, to be more organized and to keep track of stuff. I'm like, no. Why? If you don't have that organization and that keeping track, what happens? How do you feel? And it's those things that you need to think about.
So it sounds almost like, and this is just because from a parent perspective, all of those things that you suggested I mean, you could almost flip the planner and do it, you know, for busy mums and dads planner and have the same thing, but the other side, right? Because they are, and Yvette, you're in that stage with Savannah, and Jess, you're about to go into that to the next few years with having kids at multiple activities and multiple times, plus the school calendar, how those kinds of fit. So potentially, I mean, there's just so much value in having some structure. And I'm pretty chaotic too, but having some structure around the different things that we want to achieve so that we can actually feel a little bit more like we've succeeded, but also, you're right, removing the overwhelm.
Not even that. I think like so many parents now have, with lockdowns and whatnot, have ended up becoming teachers. So you know, not only are you trying to be a parent and do your job, you're also trying to stay on top of your kids' schoolwork and know what they've got coming up. And further to that, I guess, with a lot of stuff that's going on in the world, there's a massive, massive shift towards homeschooling. So, I mean, I can't even count on all my fingers and toes all the parents that I know of that in the past just maybe month and a half have pulled their children out of school and are now going into homeschooling. So I can't imagine, considering what I would do on a regular basis, and then if I had to add on being solely responsible for my child's education at the same time, how I would, like, I feel like that would tip my very precarious organizational control, because I'm a control freak at the same time. Like, into complete overwhelm and chaos, like instantly.
And it has been such a just unpredictable sort of, you know, 18 months, 2 years. And I was, you know, working for an airline when this first happened, and a lot of the ladies there just went into meltdown when it was, you know, time to homeschool. And, you know, I don't think it was communicated clearly enough that the expectations for parents are not the same as teachers. Like, yes, there's a responsibility for teachers to send work home, but we don't expect, and you know what, I'm talking from my own perspective here, I shouldn't say we as a collective, but I wouldn't expect the parents of the children in my class to teach them all of the things that I would, because yes, you probably have more than one kid at home. You might not have enough technology to get around, you know, you're trying to do your own job at the same time. So it comes back to what I said before about letting go of those expectations that society and, you know, social media and everything feeds us. And can I swear? Am I allowed to swear? Yeah.
You can, because we are rated as explicit, because you never know what's going to come out on this.
Okay. Yeah. So one of my sayings when I created this, my latest product, my journal, is fuck the shoulds. Like, who's saying that? Like, why is that in your brain? Why is that an expectation for you? Whoever said it's got nothing to do with you and your life. So fuck it, you don't have to do it. So I would say to those mums at the airline, I'm like, enjoy this time. Like, I know obviously having your kids can be a handful, but do a little bit of, you know, reading and spelling and sight words, you know, if they're younger, and whatever, do those, you know, the maths, the basics, but teach them life skills, cook with them, build a cubby, get them to build, you know, a track, you know, that ad, the Telstra ad, or I don't know, something where they build that big track and the cars go everywhere and whatever, like do some gardening, sewing, I don't know, YouTube stuff. And that kind of learning is just as valuable. And so breaking your day up, rather than maths, social studies, whatever, all the things that the teachers sent home. Imagine if you could do some reading, have a break, make some lunch together, maybe bake a cake so they can do some maths measurements and, you know, science with, if using baking powder and, you know, I don't know, whatever. Imagine how much more calm you would feel when you sort of let go of everybody else's expectations and just do what you can.
Sorry, I'm fighting with my mute button. I'm like, what's happening? Yeah, I agree. I think we were pretty lucky, I guess, because the first time we were in lockdown in Brisbane, it was just going into school holidays. We just got put into school holidays early. But I know some of my friends who at other schools were just in complete overwhelm and had their days scheduled down to the last minute, and then were still trying to, you know, do housework and cooking and their own jobs from home, and massive meltdowns and tears from the parents, not just the children.
And imagine like having that energy, being a kid and having that energy around from your parent all the time, and you know, living in that sort of stressful, like you said, overwhelmed environment. Like, it's just, it's a crazy time, and I wish more people would give themselves some grace to be okay with what they can do.
Yeah, I agree. So if you had somebody like me who, I mean, I generally use my phone, but I do like the idea of having a journal or something, you know, on my desk, because this is where I spend a lot of my time to try and keep myself organized. What I end up doing though, is I end up having like 15 notebooks, and I have things written in each notebook. And then, like Jess, when I'm looking for something, then I can't remember where I put it. Like, is there a way to simplify things for somebody like myself who I feel like I'd like to give it a go to use a planner as well as my phone, probably, because I don't know, without something dinging at me, I probably would forget stuff. But just a way I also would forget people's names, because someone will tell me their name and I will, I have to repeat it to myself a few times. Otherwise, within seconds, I've forgotten what their name is. But yeah, so just a way to make it easy to kind of, for somebody who wants to transition to a planner but hasn't really used one before, like what's the easiest way to kind of do that and stay on top of things?
I think, like I said before, get something that's pretty open so that you can be flexible with your system and layout, but not too open that it's blank and overwhelming and you've got white space and your brain goes, oh crap, what do I do with this? So that's the hard part, finding that. But if you're someone who thinks you need those headings and things like that, then it's just about finding something that suits you. So if you sit into thinking about what you need out of that physical planner, so you've got whatever on your phone and you know, however you use your phone, but if you sit down and think, okay, well, in my planner I can write down kids school stuff doesn't need to be in my phone. I can write it in my planner so that I can see it well in advance, and I can write in, you know, 10 weeks before it's due, or, you know, 10 weeks before the event actually happens. I can write reminders so I'll see it and I'll have plenty of time. Maybe you know, whatever you want to use that thing for, think about that and think about what works for you. If crossing out and highlighting doesn't work for you, if it does, maybe you're more of a picture drawer kind of person and you need tables and checklists, or maybe you just need blank space. Maybe it's going to be just birthdays, or, you know, I don't know, things like that. Maybe you need time allocations for meetings. I would write a list of all of the things you think you need it for, and then go out and possibly find something. But a few little things I would suggest doing to make it a bit easier is having a color coding system. So even if you've got your 15 notebooks, if that works for you, keep them, but have a theme or a color code or something for each of those 15 books, so that when, instead of going, oh, what notebook did I write that in, you can say, okay, well, that's that topic, it's in that notebook. So if you've got a notebook for work, if you've got a notebook for a business, if you've got a notebook for the kids' school, if you've got a notebook for meal planning, then have a little label and a color code on there so that you know that you can grab that notebook to make it a bit easier. I love color coding. Having things like sticky notes as well are really handy, as long as they're good ones and they don't sort of fall off. And I've actually got a product that is sticky note tape. So it's tape that comes in 3 different widths, and it's all adhesive, but it's paper texture. So it's like a sticky note roll, and you can cut it to whatever length you want, which is really handy because I move things a lot. If I'm meant to work on something this week and I don't get it done, I just rip it out and I move it to the next week, and it doesn't leave my page messy, which leads me, to overwhelm. So I find that super handy, and obviously they're coloured, so it works with my colour coding.
Ash, do you hold workshops? Is that something that you do or would be looking to do around planning?
Yes, I usually in sort of November, December, January, February have planner workshops. It's more so specifically to how to set up one of my planners, because like I said, it is quite open and it's just a backbone. Some people need a bit of guidance. So I do those. And I just sort of advertise that on my social media and on my website and things like that. But anyone can join, because I do share tips and systems and efficiency tricks and stuff like that to help you with your planning. But I've also just thought I might start kind of having like just a general FAQ kind of session where people can jump on and say, hey, I've got this problem with my 15 notebooks. How can I make it better? And help people in that way. Maybe like just a sort of general flowy conversation. Maybe people could submit questions first or something. I don't know, again, a little thing that popped into my brain. But yes, a short answer to your question.
And where can people find you, Ash? So and your planners, like do you a website and you mentioned your social media?
Yeah, my website is travelintoliving.com. The name sort of stemmed from when I returned from living over in London, and I actually started doing like travel blogging type stuff, but it's kind of morphed into a more meaningful name rather than actually just travel, where you can actually travel on any journey in your life, down any path into something that makes you sort of living, instead of just existing. So whether it's, studying more, or, you're traveling down that path, or whether you're starting a business, you're traveling down that path, or whether you're becoming a parent or whatever, you're traveling down that path into your living. So yeah, Travel Into Living, and that's the same for Instagram and Facebook as well.
Perfect. And anything like for people who are living in and around Brisbane, is there somewhere that they can come and see you, Ash, to get some support or workshops?
Yes, I pop up at markets all around the place in Brisbane. Again, that's on my website under the About tab called Find Me At, and I also post it on my Instagram. But also Finders Keepers markets are coming up on October 15 to 17. And so I will have a stall there, and it's a super, super, super great weekend out because there's so many other small businesses in there, or at the location, which is the exhibition building. And it's going to be a really, really good weekend. They have funky music playing all the time. It's a really great vibe. And oh my gosh, there's lots of food as well. So yes, I will be there. Come and say hi.
Perfect.
That sounds exciting. I'm heading down.
Yeah.
I feel like there's like end of year teacher's gift is sorted.
Yes. Yeah. Get yourself set up for Christmas, all your shopping, get yourself set up for your planning.
Very good idea.
Thanks so much for coming on today, Ash. I'm keen to kind of have a look and see if I can get myself organised, from being the person who forgets my own wedding anniversary every year, to somebody who can be on top of things. Never too late.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for joining us today, Ash. And for everybody who's been listening, thanks for joining us on another episode of the Transformation Project. Make sure to head over to whatever platform you are listening to us on and like and subscribe. We love an honest review, and we look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye.